Well, turning now, though, to woke Hollywood. Film fans blasting last night's Academy Awards ceremony as the wokest ever after a string of virtue-signaling speeches by stars. Anti-cop messaging and the Derek Chauvin trial took center stage in many of last night's speeches, especially one from the host, actress Regina King. Listen.
I have to be honest. If things had gone differently this past week in Minneapolis, I might have traded in my heels for marching boots. Now, I know that a lot of you people at home want to reach for your remote when you feel like Hollywood is preaching to you. But as a mother of a black son, I know the fear that so many live with, and no amount of fame or fortune changes that.
And you can see right there, plummeting 58% the ratings. So a lot of folks did reach for their, to turn the channel.
Well, let's give that number.
Yeah.
9.85 million people watched. Mm-hmm. Last year, 23.6 million.
Yeah.
So 23 plus million versus under 10 million.
Right. So plummeting 58%. At least those are some of the initial numbers that are coming out. So maybe those numbers will drop even more. Let's bring in our guest right now to talk a little bit more about it. The National Director of the Freedom Foundation, Alek Skarlatos, and Democratic strategist, Reverend Dee Dawkins Haigier. So Bob and I were sitting out here saying we didn't watch it last night. Did either one of you watch it last night?
I watched bits and, pieces of it.
A little bit here and there. Let's begin and get some reaction to some of the speeches that we were talking about. This is comedian Trevon Free's speech about cops. Listen.
Today, the police will kill 3 people. And tomorrow, the police will kill 3 people. And the day after that, the police will kill 3 people because, on average, the police in America every day kill 3 people, which amounts to about 1,000 people a year. And those people happen to disproportionately be black people. And, James Baldwin once said, the most despicable thing a person can be is indifferent to other people's pain.
So, Alex, what did you think about that? The 36-year-old was also wearing a suit that was lined with the names of people killed by police, he said, to draw attention to police brutality.
Well, people don't like being told what to think by people that have no connection to reality. And, if that's even true that 3 people are killed by police, that's not saying that it's not justified. Every single instance of police use of force should be treated on a case-by-case basis and looked at and not talked about, in generalities overall. I'm talking about 3 people killed by police like they're all, lined up in front of a trench and then shot in the back of the head like a genocide. It's ridiculous.
Reverend D, did you say you watched some last night?
Yes, I watched a good portion of it.
Okay. What was your impression? How'd you feel about what you saw? And then your overall comments.
Well, first of all, I really appreciated what Regina King had to say, because the truth be told, if the verdict had been different, I probably would have had on my marching boots, but I keep my marching boots on. Now, in regards to the other statement, I do agree. You cannot generalize every police shooting with tyranny that we've seen with George Floyd. That's a totally different situation. It's on a case-by-case scenario. However, we do need to reimagine policing in America. We need to have more public safety than police profiling in America or police brutality. And that is a conversation that we do need to have. And I think the Oscars is a great place because it does have a large audience that pays attention to it. Maybe not as large this year, because I did turn the channel quite a bit because it was just actually boring to me. Yeah. But it wasn't because of the woke message.
Well, perhaps this message was a little more unifying. Director Tyler Perry giving this message at the Oscars while being honored with the Jean Hersholt's Humanitarian Award. The legendary filmmaker called on others to refuse hate, and his speech was praised by many as a breath of fresh air. Listen.
I refuse to hate someone because they are Mexican or because they are black or white or LGBTQ. I refuse to hate someone because they are a police officer. I refuse to hate someone because they are Asian. I would hope that we would refuse hate.
So, Alex, maybe a little more of a positive message on what should have been an entertaining and positive night.
Funny how the applause kind of tapered off there at the end. I think that it's not only the fact that they've gone very political in recent years, but I think it's also just the fact that no good movies have come out this year, and everything that does come out is a superhero movie catered to China. I mean, it just hasn't been as good as they have been in the past.
Yeah, people did not go. I mean, in their defense,
Yeah.
in some way. Yeah, did you go to any movies last year?
No.
I went to one early on in the pandemic, and then everything closed.
Right.
So you couldn't. Reverend Dee, though, one thing I did want to ask is, when people tune in, do they want to see this? Because I remember a long time ago, I used to get my videos from a guy named, at a place called Video Archives. Turned out to be Quentin Tarantino was the guy that worked there, right? Love his story, Rags to Riches, where he's gotten somewhere. I love hearing stories about how these people worked hard. They got where they, the people they worked with in the creative process. Do you think people want to tune in and hear about politics?
People may not want to hear about politics, but when you do have people that are dying unjustly and you have a large audience, it is your responsibility to have a conscience and speak to it. Now, I can't say that we should make generalizations, because that's just as dangerous when we do it on the left as well, because all police officers are not bad police officers. But we do need to address situations in America that are systemic, that leads to profiling and even to death. So we do need to have conversations wherever those venues may be.
All right.
Well, Reverend Dee, thank you so much for joining us. Alex, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
All right.